Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Patrons video today that I'm making for Jacob Good as part of their custom monthly music review. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on the screen from an act named Radiohead off of their 2000 album Kid A, the song titled How to Disappear Completely, and we're going to listen through it from start to finish and we're going to hear what we think. Let's do it, let's go. Interesting shift from the dissonant atmosphere to the guitars on the left.
That's not me. I go where I please.
Great subtle vibrato there.
I walk through walls. I float down the living.
That rolling bass line is amazing.
Not here. This isn't happening. I'm not here. I'm not here.
I think there's some kind of washed out hi-hat closes in the background, which is interesting.
I'll be the moment's already passed. Yeah, it's gone. And I'm not here. This isn't happening.
Interesting synth brass there.
I'm not here. I'm not here. Strong lights, no one speaking.
strings are a nice touch though. The call and response for the strings and the vocals is incredibly intense. Until now. You know, I think this is probably one of my favorite Radiohead tracks. Like, immediately. We're going to talk about this track, though, more in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Radiohead, titled How to Disappear Completely off of the Kid A album. Now, what do I think this track is about? I think it's about someone just wanting to completely disappear, just to not be bothered by the hurricanes and the fireworks and everything like that, strobe lights and blowing speakers. You know, they just want to be able to do whatever they want. They want to have that freedom there. They don't want to be tied down to anything particular. And then the falsetto at the end is kind of their sort of signing out and amongst the strings and everything like that. And it almost ends so beautifully, as if to say they finally found peace in not being there. I think that it's an intriguing story. The vocals are wonderful. They've got a distinct voice, and they handle things well, really. Within this performance, it just seems very raw, but like in a way, it's also shows experience and skill and polish by the singer. I think they know how to communicate in a way where the expression is completely believable. The melodies that we choose, you know, interact really well with the rest of the elements within the overall harmony. And I think that, you know, just as one singer in the middle of the mix with the microphone, they nail it, they smash it, they keep attention the entire time, effortlessly. It's just really fascinating music. And so I listen to this and I think, okay, if we've got solid head and chest voice, we're handling things in the mic, we've got presence within the mix. You know, like, and if the story we're telling makes sense with the way that we're singing, I think that they're quite well tied. Well, what is the rest of the track about? And ultimately, the song includes a lot of different instruments, and it's one of those pieces that kind of builds and builds and builds and builds and builds as you go along. It starts incredibly quietly. There's a sort of disconcerting, uncomfortable atmospheric synth there that sets the scene for a bit of kind of discord, and then you have this really gentle strummed guitar on the left side there, which is almost kind of is incredibly warm in comparison. And then you have the bass line where they loop and boom, 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 boom. Not literally those notes, but they loop it. And you include more instruments over time, such as the drums, which are incredibly subtle at first. I think we've just got some sort of like shakers or like hi-hat closes to begin with. And then you bring in the kicks and then the cymbals and then the snares and such. And they never become too loud. The main sort of other boisterous element is those strings that come in the later stage where things really perk up. We had like an arpeggiator synthy kind of thing going on the right side there in that midpoint there. That was kind of wild, just really great to fill out the stereo field with that guitar on the left hand for a lot of the focus. Moving to the other side there with the da-da-da-da-da-da or something along those lines. There was like a triplet kind of thing going on there, while they were working between triads and sort of arpeggiating those. But then, of course, you have those string harmonies eventually, and it's just such a glow to it. And not all of the ways that they harmonize are beautiful. There are some parts where it sounds incredibly intense and sort of almost a bit off-putting because of just how much it's kind of sort of slapping you around a little bit. But ultimately, the track, even with those odd bits of tension, which kind of makes sense when you're talking about wanting to disappear completely, you don't think it's going to be a happy, you know, walk in the park, everything's cherry thing. This person just doesn't want to exist anymore. They just want to disappear. They just want to be away from all that kind of stuff. They want to have that peace there. As they sing in the ether and the strings do a call and response to kind of come back to him, you get the feeling that this is a person going through their thought processes and the noises get louder and louder and louder and they just more and more disappear, almost like they're allowing themselves to do less and less and the other things go up more and more in reference to that. until you have them singing in that falsetto near the end with those interesting melodies that eventually sort of fill in and match a lot of the instrumental components that basically make it seem like the vocals just a part of the noise, just a part of the music, and then they disappear. And of course you have this quiet guitar strumming in the bass and drums at the end there, really sort of like subtle, but it's to sort of indicate that we did this magic trick where we built up over time and then came back down, and then like we faded out, and it's just really neat. It's just really special stuff, and they aren't super complicated ideas on any particular instrument. Like there were some interesting 16th note grooves on the drum kit there. We had like a finesse with the kit there. The ghost notes were fantastic. We managed to keep a pace that was gentle whilst also being incredibly tight there rhythmically. The bass player with that kind of rolling line there for a lot of it was another texture that I think filled in the low end really well, and the strummed guitars on the left combined with some of the those slidey bits there that went up and down. It was really sort of surreal. It was almost ghostly how they were handled there. It's just the sound design is almost as important as the notes that are played. It's the combination and the mosaic nature of a lot of these different elements stitched together within this composition that make it incredibly enthralling throughout. And I think that it's beautiful for a lot of it, and a lot of the sort of like the quietness of it, the ghostliness of those reverb components there, the way that the guitars go in and out there, the flurry of things up and down, not only sort of make it seem like we're inside someone's head sort of figuring out why they want to leave, but it also seems like we're exploring the remnants of their previous life before they disappeared. And so ultimately I think that while it's a lot of love's been put into composing this, and there's a lot of sort of tricky stuff going on, it's also so accessible, such a wonderful theme that I think allows you to imagine what more of what they could have been saying beyond what they did. And yeah, it's just a really tight musical instrument performance without a note out of place. I also want to note before we continue that the singer sounds like they're sort of like struggling with a situation. There's a sense of vulnerability and fragility with it, with those little vibratos that we have here. They're not massive shifts, but we almost sound like we're getting ready to make the big decision we're going to, and it's kind of brutal, but also just so cool, man. Like they really know how to write fantastic music, even if it can be a little bit disconcerting sometimes. The studio recording, mixing, and mastering is wonderful. There's phenomenal dynamic range to it. Things are really neatly leveled within a frequency spectrum. Music surrounds you in a stereo field with specific panning for certain instruments to make it uneven, so therefore you really appreciate when it is filled out. It was nice to know that the pumping the bus compression limiting is handled. The vocals were by no means overproduced. It was a singer, they could sing, but they were able to do it without any extra help in post. And ultimately, this is my review of this track from an act named Radiohead titled How to Disappear Completely, off of the Kid A album. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show them some love via the various social medias and the Spotify page, and stay cool and stay safe. Please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as you need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next review, or in the next SP Patrons video show, so I'm a little bit out of practice. Spiderhands out.